Set for release December 22nd, 2022 on PC by developer and publisher Processor Games Studio, Osiris is an isometric roguelike RPG based on Egyptian mythology. Now, the developers have stated this game is 100% complete and ready for release, but I'm sorry to report, guys, this game is far from complete and runs like something barely ready for an early access beta release. I'm not certain if this was developed by a team of newcomers or simply rushed out the door for a holiday season release, as I got 2 different release dates for this game. On Steam it says February 28, 2023, and while I do see some potential and promise for this game, while I do see the direction the developers are headed with Osiris, if I'm going to have to be that one guy to tell you this, Processor Games Studio, you may have a direction in mind, but you've got quite a way to go. Thanks for the review key regardless. Now, this isn't my thing. I'm not one of those reviewers who gets off on making fun of people's work. I'm not that reviewer whose shtick is to make cynical reviews, piss on a developer's labor, add a sarcastic line to my video description on YouTube with a picture of me making some dumbass facial expression in a thumbnail. No, before I go that route, I'll stick with my handful of subs and views or just delete my YouTube channel. That's just not me. I really hate cynicism, despite that being the popular, preferred, and a trending culture. So it pains me to put out a review like this. But people need to be informed. It's a part of being a journalist of any kind, video game, esports, entertainment, or whatever. And when I say people, I'm not just talking about the consumers, who are sometimes suckered into spending their coin on shitty games simply because of misleading box arts and spiels created by publishers and devs to lure them in. I'm also talking about the developers and publishers. You guys need to be reminded that shit like this is just not okay. To call a game like this complete, to not even humbly release it as an early access build, as work in progress, but to send this out to unsuspecting consumers as a finished product is just wrong. I did some research on this game before even playing it, and the one video I found that could even be considered a review was some angry dude just ripping it to shreds. This guy didn't even take the time to create a proper video, he was just going to town on it, with random gameplay footage playing in the background. And while I'm not about to do the same, as I do consider myself a video game journalist, not just a YouTuber, whatever the hell that really means. But I'm about actual useful information, and if I'm going to say someone's game is shit, I'm going to give a good reason. As I know, to make a video game, good or bad, AAA or indie, it takes work. And Osiris is actually not nearly as bad as that one guy made it sound. But what he said, his reactions to the game, is a lesson to you devs. Don't release shit like this. Trying to pass it off as a complete game, it just pisses people off.
Our story began when I saved you from the violent hands of my brother.
The story of Osiris is pretty simple. Nothing particularly good or bad about it. You're a demigod who saved his love interest from his brother, Pharaoh Osiris, but was apparently killed. You both died, but only you got granted pardon, while your love was damned. And now you're fighting your way out of Duat with your love in spirit form by your side. And in the opening cutscene, it does say you're trying to get out of a place named Duat, but in game, it says you're escaping hell. It doesn't look like you're in hell, based on the common perception of the way this fictional place called hell is supposed to look, but hey, I really don't know at this point with this game. They say it's inspired by that indie hit Hades, so maybe they just threw that in as homage. I really am not sure. And now that I listen to myself attempt to tell this story, it really isn't adding up after all, but it is a story, so there's that.
May the gods guide me.
The visuals. Now, this is where things start to fall apart. Osiris isn't well optimized at all, and I suspect many who decide to get this game, if it's not sorted out properly before release, will not go much further than the hub area, because these visual settings are something else. The game crashed when I turned ray tracing on, so I left it off. The game crashed when I turned 4K mode on, so I turned that shit off as well and left it as 1080p. Then, it gives you the option to choose low, medium, high, epic, or best. I kinda thought epic would be best, but whatever. I selected best. No crash. Great. Then, there's an option I'm not too familiar with. Screen percentage. If I select 100%, the game's frame rate drops to a crawl, so I left it at 50%, and then it was acceptable. Once you get over this hurdle, the game will run well enough. Well, it'll be playable. Well enough, much like playable is subjective, but fine, moving on.
This is the time to get stronger.
This is what I'm talking about when I say most people will turn this off and opt for a refund before giving this game a chance. Which, as bad as things are looking right now for Osiris, people actually should give it a chance. I know, at this point, that's a what the fuck kind of thing to say for me, but bear with me if you got the time.
May the gods have mercy on these poor souls.
Here I am.
Osiris also needs either manual camera controls, automatic camera controls, or the use of transparency in certain areas. You'll walk behind a wall and lose sight of your character, and the camera does nothing to compensate. The structure that's blocking you does not become transparent like in most games in these instances. Your character is simply blocked from view. Then there are clipping issues, textures loading, and some other inconsistencies. But I will say this though, while Osiris looks like an early Xbox 360 PS3 game, it isn't god-awful and it does have beautiful particle effects. Over in sound, we have voice acting, and yeah, if you're one of the handful of people who have actually subscribed and actually follow my channel, you'll have heard me say this many times before. I prefer bad voice acting over text only, and this still stands. However, here in Osiris, these guys have taken things to a different level of jank. I'm talking new heights. Now, I suspect most, if not all of us, are aware of this AI craze. Yeah, can anyone say Skynet? Yeah. AI is certainly taking over. Now, AI was clearly used to do the voices here, and I'm not knocking innovation. I'm not knocking technological advancements, not really. But Processor Game Studio, yes, now I'm speaking directly to you, as I know you're watching this video. When you mispronounce the actual title for your game in said game, that's when you know things are hopeless.
Believers who would be forgiven by Osiris in the afterlife.
Come on guys, Osiris? Really? The game is called Osiris. That's how it's pronounced. And you couldn't even get that right? I understand, this is some low to no budget indie thing, probably created by just one person, but come on. Even I do really cheap voice work. You could have reached out to someone to do a better job than this C-grade AI crap. Skynet has not fully gotten their shit together. AI is not there yet, and certainly shows in these poor voice performances.
I'm mate, and I don't think it's right what's happening to you. I'm going to warn the gods so they can help you.
One may say, well Wayne, how do you know the devs didn't want it pronounced that way? It's their fucking game. Well, not only did I hear the word spider pronounced spitter, but listen to this bullshit garbled gibberish here, and tell me it was meant to be pronounced Osiris.
Have you ever satisfied your foolish urges? So life from the foolish wits would straighten him.
The score, fine, I like it. Lacks variety, but what's here actually sounds good and fitting. The sound effects are also good enough, can't complain. Now to the gameplay aspect of Osiris. To all who managed to stick it out this far, you'll understand what I meant when I said Osiris isn't that bad. Yeah, I know this isn't making sense, but I did my job. And I say job in air quotes, as this shit clearly does not pay the bills. But as an actual, real reviewer, I did my job. I didn't just give up after faced with the first set of hurdles this game presented. I powered through. I gave this game the chance every indie game deserves. A fair shot. And I'm going to have to say that while I may never play this game again, at around 7 hours clocked in on Steam, the gameplay loop got addictive. I really didn't want to stop playing. There's just something about it. Once you get past a certain point and you're able to see past the glaring flaws,
your trust will be returned.
On startup, we got very few options. They're the video options I went through earlier, and that's about it. You're able to use either a keyboard and mouse or a gamepad. I used a gamepad. The controls feel really rough, unrefined, and makes aiming projectile attacks difficult. In true roguelike fashion, you begin in a hub area, the Gates of Anubis. Here's where you can speak with Osiris and other gods. Check and upgrade your weapons, skills, abilities, and treasures you've unlocked. You've got your standard melee attack, a ground pound-like attack, your deceased lady companion in spirit form who can be weaponized and upgraded as you progress, and a special attack, which can also be upgraded. You can visit the Ark, where you're able to upgrade these perks. These permanent buffs, which can also be reset and reconfigured at any time through crystals, these points you collect on each run. Before and after an area, you're able to choose seals. Seals, which grant you temporary upgrade options, which go a far way to help on each run. You may also enter rooms with merchants offering you cursed seals. Kinda like a sell your soul arrangement with similar outcomes. You can choose from upgrading your dash, your attack damage, your specials damage, or Kia, your lady's attack. At the end of each area, you can choose which room you'd like to enter next. Each have a name, but I'm not certain what the differences really are. Sometimes I'd enter a room with a merchant, where I could buy some pretty useful power-ups. Sometimes I'd enter an area with weaker enemies, path of least resistance kind of thing. So on and so forth, while some rooms would be empty. I know each path chosen comes with a different reward at the end, but it all felt kinda random to me. And another thing, the main gimmick of a roguelike, or light, is the grow as you go mechanic. The more you die, the more you try, the better the chances of you getting by thing. And the grind didn't leave me feeling like I was getting much stronger each time I failed. While playing, if I had a really good run, during that run, I could feel myself getting stronger through the various seals I got. But after dying, I felt like I was back to the drawing board. The permanent buffs I got just didn't feel like much, and this is unfortunate. I know once I'm able to unlock the other weapons, the spear and the bow in particular, things should be easier, especially this boss fight, which is what I suspect I need to beat before being able to afford the bow. But getting to that point felt harder than it had any right to be. And as much as I grew to appreciate this game a bit more than when I initially started, there's just way too much jank to plow through to justify the needed effort. I may revisit it, but no promises. I'm talking about jank like your life bar and certain other needed info on screen just randomly disappearing. This isn't the kind of game where playing without a HUD is advised. Knowing when your special has recharged, knowing how bad your health is, and how urgent it is for you to find a healing item or healing fountain is a key part of making your way through it. But the game just keeps tripping over itself, self-sabotaging at every turn. It's almost impossible to remain invested in an experience like this, as much as I want to give it a chance and a fair shake.
Great God of Egypt, receive my offering.
You can give offerings to unlock treasures that will aid your run, but you need to give 3 to each individual god, and sometimes, most times, the indicator that lets you know how much you have given so far just doesn't appear. Sometimes you go over to the seal select menu and the controller stops working. You have to reach for the mouse. It's jank like this I'm talking about that makes it so difficult to take this game seriously.
Your trust will be returned.
So, this isn't one of those games I was able to play through to the end credits. But I'm putting this video out there because, out of all the games I've reviewed this year, this is probably the shittiest, but still holds promise and potential, if the devs aren't content with releasing mediocrity. If you guys take this back to the drawing board, iron out the kinks, be honest with yourselves, and admit that you wouldn't pay for a game like this. You wouldn't even want to play this for free were it not your own creation. Understand that to expect people to pay for this or take it seriously, to take you guys seriously as real indie game devs committed to the craft, then you'll want to fix this game before release. And I'm assuming the actual release date is February 2023 and not in a couple of days. Better can be done. So just do it.
I owe my existence to you.
AAA games are all well and good, but many times, if you'd like a truly unique experience, one off the beaten path, then the indie scene is where you want to be. Osiris may not be where it needs to be just yet, but it could be. Show your support for independent game developers. Most if not all indie games are priced relatively low, some are even free with the option to donate, so there's really no reason to pass. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's say I pissed you off with this one though, then hey, we all know where to find the various hate buttons now, don't we? Do what you gotta do to leave this experience feeling vindicated, partner. Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.
I will make it.